Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on February 15th, 2023 at approximately 4:21 p.m. And of course, we have that going on. Now, I returned to this world for one primary reason, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I call myself a spiritual guide simply because the tools I offer here are the exact same tools I personally use, and the philosophies of life are the ones that I personally live by. Now, with that in mind, we start the door and we open the doors here. We have Adam in with the gold, and Raven, welcome aboard. You have the silver. Glad both of you have managed to arrive. The reality is, I decided to look at this thing, and everybody, Dogface, how you doing? You're in with the bronze. We have looked at changing our lives, but the one thing that seems to hold most people up, is quite frankly the same thing that's held me up for decades. Joe, how we doing? And you're in with honorable mention. The thing that tends to screw a lot of people up is we tend to wait. We tend to procrastinate. And, the reality is there is very little that you can ever get accomplished in life by procrastination. It just doesn't work that well. It's a one. No, I'm not going to go climbing up on a stool again today. Thank you very much. That was just not fun the other day. But we take a look at the world, at what you're doing with your world. And like I asked you yesterday, are you content with the way your world is right now? If the answer is yes, this is a good thing. If the answer is no, then right here, right now, is when it is time we start changing things. Now, I've been pulled in all sorts of directions today. What do I got here? Let's just get that out of the way. Pardon the noise, because this is going to be annoying. And that's that thing about procrastination not getting us very far. I put off doing a lot of things I really never should have put off. So let's just make certain. Now, the whole thing with procrastination is what happens is we get an idea. I really should get to that. And then we never get anywhere with it. So I'm just going to, while we're working here, I'm going to cover a few very major issues. I wonder who was to send me that. Where are we? Hey, Eternity, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The way I figured, I've got all this stuff going on, and so much of it I tend to postpone, just like you probably do. So what we're looking at is I've got right here at this desk. Now, I did grab a half hour's nap. As a matter of fact, where are we here? We are right now at 4:30, so that means 3:30 to 4 o'clock. The only way to keep things organized, really, is to keep on top of them, really, is to actually do something with it. So that becomes 1530 to 1600. Now, here's the thing. If we continue postponing things, all that we're going to do is wait until something happens where you don't have a choice. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've got something, there is a piece of equipment that you're working with, and it's breaking down, you have one of two choices. Deal with it, what they call preventative medicine, or don't. Wait until it falls apart and then try and fix it. Usually that's a bigger job. Where did I just put my pen? Sure, took my pen over there to write it down. and didn't bother bringing it back. I get a lot of exercise that way, But procrastination will not get you anywhere very fast. Now, I'm presuming that everybody that's listening in here has suffered from procrastination on occasion. Okay, so let's just mark down. Now, these are a few things I'm writing down that I'm clearing off while I'm talking to you. Because of the fact that most people actually, what happens is they go, I really should get to that. Well, I'll get to that in a little while. In a little while doesn't work well. You're still doing it in the here and now. Okay, that's just the reality behind it. And again, you don't have to take my word for it. Do your own research. Figure it out. Talk to your own people. Find out what they have to say about it. Okay, it really boils down to an issue of having to make certain, make certain that you actually know what you're up to. Now, I get a lot of emails coming through, a lot of different things happening. I actually went down to my printer today, and I've ordered more books. And of course, I'm pushing limits here. I know this, but that's the way life goes. If you continue choosing to procrastinate, it's like sitting there choosing to go in and sit and listen to somebody tell you the world's going to end. Well, the world is going to end. We are all going to die. And none of you are taking the material stuff with you. It's not going to happen no matter how much you might like it to. Okay. So we take a look at what I'm sitting on here. Let's see. We got the shelf there. We got the counter. The counter here that I'm leaning on. Then we have the printer station. These are just parts of my office I'm writing down that I've got to get sorted out, because when I get done on the show today, I've got a whole pile of things I didn't actually get. I was out for part of the day getting books ordered. And that does create some interesting situations. Okay, so we get up here, and yeah, it's going to be one of those days. Because this, I've got to get out of my way so I can clear it and work on it. That can sit there for a moment. Primarily because I got too many things going on. Which I was good. Hey, look, guys. I lost my marbles. But I found it again, so we're okay. Now, this particular map is from what? January 2023. One of the keys to avoiding procrastination is get yourself organized. If you don't get yourself organized, you're going to run into a problem. Okay, not the least of which is lack of organization. I don't believe I told you could do that. So what I'm looking at here, okay, that took care of that. I just need that stuff out of the way so I could function, sort of. But we can choose to sit back and wait for things to happen. Or you can decide you're altering it now. Okay, that's just the reality behind the way life works. You can sit and wait. Now, there is a way of looking at this. Okay, there's an old thing that goes, the early bird gets the worm. Which is great. The unfortunate part is the early worm gets got. Of course, when you have the reality from that side, there's a lot of ways of looking at it. Now, if you happen to play D&D, the early bird gets the worm, which is fantastic until somebody tells you it's a purple worm. At which point the early bird got instead of the early worm. Now, I did do, where are we here? Let's get one shelf done at a time. That's my painting stuff that I've been working with, but I don't have any paint in here right now. Oh, I do so. Was mistaken. But in any event, I take a look at this. I can sit here and tell you, absolutely put whatever you're doing off. Okay, but let me ask you this. When you put something off, or more to the point, when the last time you put something off, did it get done before you got back to it? Okay, by leaving it alone, did you actually get it sorted around? Now, I'm just checking here. I know we've got 6 in the chat room, which is great. Yes, I do see what you wrote there, Adam. And just so you're aware, okay, I'm presuming you're still in the chat room. Okay. Oh, I don't have them here. But I do have books in order. And by the way, the important factor there, Adam, and for all of you guys, okay, anybody that is looking to order a book, I keep showing you books here. Of course, that's not a book, but rest assured, I may get dizzy, but I'm not about to climb up on a stool. Already made that mistake. Okay, when I pull out a book that we're talking about, like Mr. Dreamcatcher here, this particular book is not going anywhere. You know, that one is not the one that I will ever ship anybody. Okay, this is why I've got inventory in. This is why I've got the inventory in the back. Okay, and yeah, absolutely. I went down. It was funny. I went down to order more of Mr. Dreamcatcher. Turned out the printer got it a little backwards, and she printed off Mr. Dreamcatcher Returns, which is fine. I've still got Mr. Dreamcatcher in stock, right? So, and because I'm starting to build an inventory here in case I get or more to the point, in hopes I get a run. Okay, but here's the thing. Okay, I set things in place so that when I get an order, I can turn around and within 3 business days, I'll have it in the mail on its way. Now, of course, the reality is, okay, from that standpoint, just so you're aware up here, just curiosity there, Adam, where are you from? Like, are you in Canada or the States? Because, well, it really doesn't make any difference. In Canada, we have a holiday on both Friday and Monday, meaning nothing will go out until Tuesday. Because, well, frankly, the post office will be closed. You know, that's just the unfortunate reality. Do I tend to pack the books up right away? You bet. Okay. But yes, by the way, and you'll find, let me show you something here. Well, that's not. Yeah. I am looking into, much as I am looking into t-shirts and what have you, to go with the Yldrbac Chronicles. If anybody knows a decent t-shirt company that is reliable, I'm going to be checking around town here and see what I can come up with. Tomorrow's Thursday, and Friday everything's closed. If I don't go down on Thursday, I'll be going down to the stores on Friday and see what I can find as far as cost of that goes. Because again, this is a question of finding suppliers. I can write. I know this. Okay, I know this myself. Many of you can write. Where are we? In Canada, just outside of Basano, Alberta. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so I don't know if Alberta has holidays on Friday and Monday. We do in BC. But I've got to go out and find merchandising people that can make some of the stuff. Okay. That can make the dream catchers, that can make, when you take a look in it. Okay. Let's just see if I can turn this open. I've got to find just a couple of ideas. Yeah, well, BC does something silly. We don't have a holiday this month, so I think we'll make a new one. Because there's not, my child is getting more holidays this year, this year than I did during my entire school time. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. But I'm looking, let me just make a note of that because of the fact I can. One of the things I did when I decided I was going to push the business before it became a problem, is I went, I've got to get some writing done. And did I don't know if I did. I don't think so yet. No. How many different involving stuff in, man, we'll try English. What do you think? Oh, I do want that open so I can find it. We take that and shrink that over there. Then we've got, very big sidetrack here on top of procrastination and what have you. I saw a clip today. Did anybody out there see a clip of an orb shooting across the sky being chased by two fighters? Now, I don't know where this thing took place. Okay. I just watched the short of it. Okay. Hey, Shadow, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And we are going to have to, I know you know this, but we're going to have to take a look at it. The question I was trying to get to ask here. Did any of you guys see that clip of an orb being chased down by fighter planes and outrunning them? Okay. I saw this one today, and I don't usually see many of these clips, but I'll tell you, this thing couldn't have been much clearer. And I'm looking at it, and I'm watching this orb go by, and I'm like, I know that ship. Okay. So, of course, I went to my notes, and, that reminds me, I'll have to let him know. But let's get my glass on so I can't read a thing here. Okay. Oh, that's why I had that blown up to full size. Move that to there so it all moves around where I can actually see it. But that orb, if anybody saw it, that was, as far as I could tell by looking at it now, do understand something very, very important. I do not claim, I'll flat out deny, I am not a video analyst. So can I speak to the veracity of the video I saw? No. But I can tell you what was depicted was a Taurian ship. Okay. That is what that thing looked like. And it's funny because I showed my son, and he's looking at this ship, right? And when we first saw it, he looks at me and he goes, that's baseball, Dad, because of the way it was coming at us. And then as it panned by, it's like gone. And he says, and he looks at me and goes, what the? And then the fighter planes came into view. And here's two fighter planes flying at they are just moving like a bat. Right. They were just moving like a bat out of guess where. And by the way, bats don't live there very well. Okay, but, the reality of it is, he took a look at it and I went, and I'm like, that's a Taurian. And my son looks at it and goes, Dad, what are they planning on doing if they catch it? I said, don't ask me. They can't keep up with the thing, so I just can't see them catching it anytime soon. Okay, but for those of you who are not aware, okay, the Taurian race are an arachnid race. Now, I just got to double check. I think I've actually got them in here. This is just the first printing of it, but I was talking to my artist, and you'll be happy to know they're coming along nicely. Yep, Taurians are in here. I've got to get around to doing that, but my printer argued with me. My mechanical printer here argued with me about it. But I will tell you this. The Taurians are one of the races in the first book. Okay. Now, like I said, we can procrastinate until the end of time for all that matters. Okay. But if we continue procrastinating, we're not going to get very far. Now, this is what I was looking at. I have to find somebody that can make a lot of dream catchers. Somebody that can make, and I'm going to put it, now, here's a question for you guys. Hey, Carlito, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Got a question for you. And this really applies something that is kind of on the issue of parents will make more, are likely to have a lot more of a direction on, but it doesn't matter to me. These guys are going to eventually be made into figures, into physical constructs. And I'm thinking, where it comes to this chap here, okay, I'm thinking very, very clearly. Now, I believe this is graph. Whoop. Yeah. This is a neat little chap by the name of Graph. Okay. Now, in your guys' opinion, when we're looking at a creature and an individual like that, in your guys' opinion, would it be better to have a plastic figure or a stuffy? Or for that matter, both? Okay. Yes, Raven, they really are. I mean, they do have a visible head. Like you can, they are. I mean, they're just little guys. Okay, they're actually. If you're not an arachnophobe, they're really neat people. Okay, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on them here. And this is why I ended up writing it down. I got too many races I'm working with and too many different individuals. Okay. But yeah, we're looking at people. There you go. Now, this is a spider to rival, from what I've seen, to rival Australians. The Australian fire, the Australian spiders. These guys are 5 feet tall. Now, that means they've got in excess of an 8-foot leg span. They are not little people. Of course, the reality, like I said, if you happen to be an arachnophobe, these guys are not going to make you feel at ease. Okay, or for that matter, and like you would expect, well, maybe you wouldn't, but Taurians reproduce way faster than humans. Okay, because Taurians, they produce upwards of 100 children in one nesting. Okay, now thankfully they don't tend to nest on Earth, not yet. But people keep shooting at them, and who knows what they're going to do. This is what I was getting at about this whole idea of let's deal with this invasion because we can deal with it. Well, there's a video out now, and I only just saw this one, They couldn't even catch up to it. Never mind do anything with it. Now, I haven't seen pictures of the ships of the other three that got shut down. Okay, but I got thinking, we can sit here and we can keep putting things off. We can keep shooting at people or finding ways to separate ourselves. I'm guessing you don't live in Australia then, Raven. Unfortunately, I know people that are like, I'm thinking maybe one thought at a time. What do you figure? I know people that are arachnophobic. Okay. And I do feel for you because it's not like it makes sense. You see an animal, you see a creature that's like this big, and you're going, I can't go near it. Now, this is not a rational maneuver. And anybody that tells you, oh, I know you're afraid of it, just get over it, doesn't work that way. Okay. It just does not work that way. But I will tell you, from my standpoint, yes, they look like spiders. I'm not an arachnophobe myself. I used to be afraid of horses. Okay. I used to be afraid of a lot of things. The one thing I never feared was the metaphysical world. And that one concerned my father a great deal. So we are not talking about, this is what I mean. When I talk about we can put things off. Now, I've already cleared off most of my deck here. That I should have filled with water, but I guess coffee will work nicely. Coffee better work nicely. I go through enough of it. Well, shouldn't have had that there. Like I said, I'm in the process. I can sit still. I swear I can. Well, yes, I absolutely swear. Way too often, in all fairness. Personal. Not paper. There we are. Put my dream board back where it belongs. I have my dream board in the filing cabinet because I know where it's sitting. I've got this neat little cutting board so I can work with it when I want it to. And this neat little book. It's amazing how much time this actually gets used. Now, it was neat. I was writing today. Yeah, I'll get to that as soon as I get the sheet cleared. I was writing a piece today that, where the heck is that supposed to fit? That'll work. I was writing a story, part of another one of the books today. Got through it and went, this is going to have to be written in 2 parts. It's going to have to be written in 2 parts. Now, what do I got here? That's the horses I'm trying to find. I do have to get organized on research, but, frankly, that's never been my strong suit. What the heck did I do with it? There's only 2 over there, so where'd the second one go? That is an excellent question. It's funny. I had 3 pens over on that side periodically. One of them is just plain gone missing. That's always fun. We can, well, yeah, we got them both up here too there, Shadow. Both the brown recluse, and the black widow we've got up here. Most spiders I don't worry about. Black widows in my house, if I ever get them, don't live very long after I find out about them. Okay. But for an arachnophobe, and bear in mind, both of my kids are mildly arachnophobic. So spiders don't have much of a snowball's prayer in my house. Okay. Of course, inside city limits, bearing in mind, I live in a desert. Okay. we have sagebrush and rattlesnakes inside city limits. Okay. So, I mean, ultimately, it's not just the people up here. Very laid back people for the most part. But I tell you, the wildlife is another issue altogether. Okay. The wildlife up here has a really nasty habit of fighting back. Now, what is that? Oh, I want to go through that. Oh, yes. See, when I talk about having too much stuff and procrastinating it, okay, this was always neat. This, when I was on the dating lines, okay, and, I didn't make any headway with that one. But these are all cardstock of different connections I needed to know. Well, look at that. I've even got emails I forgot about. But I will have to go through those. But I'm moving it over there because I want this area clear. And right now, there's stuff I can't go through. Okay. But if we choose to continue to procrastinate, okay, we're going to run into troubles. Now, here's a bizarre question for you guys. Okay. And this is just because I can. Now, I've got children's books out that are primed. I know for a certainty that with the characters in these books, I am going to be looking into getting them made, into getting the figures made in a 3-dimensional form. What do we got here? Yeah. That, and now here's a neat little piece for you. Here's a neat little piece for you there, Adam. Where it comes to these books, okay. I'm writing when I wrote them, and as I'm writing them from areas that I recognize. Now that little base in Vernon, not in this one. It's mentioned in this book, okay. But to give you an idea how I dealt with it, okay, I took the names of various cities, various roads, various locations, and all I did was swap the letters around. So when you get into like in book 12, in the Return to Paradise, okay, there's a whole chunk of information that goes on around the former military base in Venron. Okay. Now, Venron is literally, all I did was take a look at the layout of Vernon and went, okay, there it is. Okay, because it made it so much easier to build a city that all I have to do is look at the map, look at a place I've been and gone, there you are. Okay. And, this is just one of those neat little tricks that I used to bring a little bit more of a 3-dimensional space to things. But where it comes to Mr. Dreamcatcher, to the children's books, and to the Yldrbac Chronicles, okay, as well as, and I've just got to figure out how to do this, pricing wise and what have you, but I've got pictures that are being done, okay. Now they are, think I've got, well, I showed you guys, but I'll show you again. Go into here, art. Okay, oh, that's why. Nope, that's the release forms. Where the heck did I put that? Note to self, which is going on a sheet of paper here. Okay. On top of the issue, on top of the idea of getting these pictures drawn up. Okay, now I showed you guys a picture of the Angelus the other day, just about a week ago or so. I will be taking those pictures, and I'm thinking, and what do you guys think of this idea? taking the pictures and putting them into a coloring book just as black and whites. Okay. And turning it into a coloring book with the different races. In your guys' opinion, is this a functional idea? Or is it more likely a waste of money? Just a curiosity thing. Call it market research, if you will. Gee, there's a terrible word. 4-letter word. 4-letter word. It's called research. I'm not sure how I'm going to get that into 4-letter words. Okay. Now, I've already got... there's 59 races I've got in the book, and we are down to having 15 left to draw. 15 left to get done up. Some are done with more detail. Most of them are pretty much a line drawing. Okay, but it's just something that just dawned on me here. And when I get them all out, that means with that in mind, not only will I be able to put out that sounds really bad if you take that out of context. And bear in mind, there are a staggering number of people that take things right out of context. Or they'll intentionally drop a word. But what this tells me, I just got an extra printing of Mr. Dreamcatcher Returns, which is a sequel, oddly enough, to Mr. Dreamcatcher. Okay, I just got that one reprinted and sent the form back to get more of Mr. Dreamcatcher. But when Races of the Worlds comes out, when I get the second printing out, at that point, I will be able to put a coloring book together just like that. Now, this is a book I wasn't actually planning on working on. Okay, but it just dawned on me. I'm getting all these black and white pictures in. And thank you so much for that there, Adam. I appreciate it. There are staggering numbers of coloring books out there. Okay, these ones are a whole different ballgame. Okay, because most of the coloring books that you take a look at, okay, and they're great if you have them done up right. It's a great way for kids to get involved in things. And I mean, let's face it. We are not, as parents, we are not raising kids. We are raising the caretakers of the world that are going to take over for us once we are gone. Now put those up there. And you guys have asked periodically about the figures I'm working on. Well, this guy you've seen before. Okay, I've added a little bit of paint to him. Okay, but I've had to move them up here. So this one, that's a cloud giant. Okay, this one here is the hill giant. You'll see. Well, you're not going anywhere. Oh, okay. Yeah, Shadow just goes, gone. I'm not going anywhere. I keep trying to get off this mud ball, and I've never once come to the point of thinking, oh, I'm going to commit suicide because I'm no longer happy. Came close to doing it by accident. But this is a hill giant I've been working on, and as you can see, he's getting a little more paint to him. Then I've got this little chap here. This is a character I'm actually playing. This is my Thursday night gaming character. This guy's actually a gnome. A little bit of a twisted little monkey. And this is the one that I'm going to be playing pretty quick. And again, this one is just an elf. Sorry, put my finger in front of it. It doesn't work well. This one is just an elf that I'm going to be working with. And then we've got this chap here he just happens to be an orcish shaman. These are ones I've been working on and just doing bits and pieces of the painting because I have to work in a whole pile of them at the same time. But let's take a look at what we got up here. Oh, yes. This is the information on the evolution of inner voice. Again, procrastination is not going to get us very far. So, where are we here? Business. No, IBE. Invoice, here we are. Insurance, ISBN, invoice. And we put that in there so I know where it is. But this is the piece I was talking about earlier. Okay. This is a write-up. This is actually from a book, and then it'll be in book either 7 or 8, probably book 8. Okay, so we're still looking at a couple of years down the road for this piece to hit the window. But this is a story about a small community that's taking place. So, of course, I write that, and this is going to have to go into book 8 when things are happening. So, take that, and over here, we have book 1, 2, 3. These are all the storylines I'm looking at. Like I said, I don't know if you can see me over there. Okay. Put that there so I know where it's supposed to be. Now I have no idea who these are. That's an interesting setup. But if we continue procrastinating, putting things off to deal with, all we're going to end up with is a whole lot of things undone. It really is, Philip. And this is one of the reasons why I'm moving around right now, is I've got this stuff on my desk, and I've made the mistake of saying still way too long. Yeah, and see, I've tried doing things like bodybuilding, and I still find, and most of you probably find the same thing. Okay, the thing that most of you are likely to find is it's easier to do a one-arm curl to build your body, not the least of which is these little things, lemon-filled cookies. You eat enough of those, you can build your body out this way without any problem at all. Okay, I'm recommending you don't do that. It didn't work out. I mean, it worked out great for me. I put on a great deal of weight. Used to look like I was carrying a basketball around under my shirt, assuming I could get the shirt on over it. But procrastination, the only way it's going to change, that you're going to break that particular pattern, is if you get off your tail feathers and start doing it. Okay. So I mean, like this little character is the dwarf that my son is going to be using. Okay, and he's dictating the colors that he wants and what have you, but I've got to work on it a piece at a time. Of course, he's so caught up in videos, like a lot of people are, that he really doesn't know how to deal with things. And what is this? Oh, yes. See, remember we were talking about this idea of documenting my past lives as well? Well, I'm going through old paperwork, and I've actually got the notes on my life in 18 that spanned 1828. Okay. I was fine, right? I was nothing but a fisherman. There was no real emphasis on anything but survival. Okay. So I am in the process of actively documenting those as well. Where is income tax here? Insurance, ICB, and probably under government. There's so many different ways to put things together. It just gets ridiculous on occasion. That's government information, and this one goes way back into personal. And you see what happens here? We could put it on hold, put everything on hold and wait. But if you do that, you don't get anything accomplished. At this point, Okay, I've got a fair chunk already sorted around here. That shelf is now clear. The counter that I write on is now clear. Well, aside from my cookie. You're not having my cookie. What do we got here? Yeah, Phil's just going, what motivated me regarding this weightlifter, this bodybuilder? You know, he goes, what motivated me was that she sounded so much like us. You know, same frustrations with being BS'd, same desire for effective change in the right direction. You know, and I'm glad to see that because I know I'm not the only one talking about this. It's just unfortunately, as was pointed out to me by my own son, unfortunately, there are so many people that point the finger at, sit back and wait for somebody else to come in and straighten it out. Wait for somebody else to do the work. Hey, Carl, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You know, so many people are told, you know, go in, you know, and I mean, yeah, I get off on a bend on occasion. Absolutely. You know, go to a building and tell somebody that you've done something wrong. But whatever you do, don't change what you're doing because you'll be forgiven anyway. This doesn't work for me. You know, I tell people what I did wrong or what I feel I did wrong. And sure, it helps me feel better for about a nanosecond and a half. Okay. But unless you do something to change the way your life is running, your life isn't going to change. And you can point the finger at anybody you choose. Okay. Christine, glad you could make it. I do trust your day has been going well. Okay. You know, what was it? Oh, yeah. These are literally, gee, that came out well, didn't it? Those are literally scraps of paper that I can actually work with. You'll notice I've got writing on one side and there's a squiggle through it. That tells me I've pulled the information. But because the other side is blank, I'm still hanging on to it because I make a lot of notes for myself. What I've got to get in the habit of doing, and I'm pretty certain you guys do. Okay. Have you ever done this? Made a note on a sticky note or on a post-it note. There's a number you got to remember. So you write the number down and then you post it up on the wall. You know, you post it on your fridge or on your counter or wherever. And then you come back to it later and you forgot to put what the number was for. Okay, you forget to write down why you had that number there in the first place. Okay. This is just the reality behind it. Now, here's the thing. Okay, there are people, you know, there's all sorts of negative ways you can look at things. What do we got here? Yeah, and this is, you know, the ironic part of it there, Philip, is she did it because she was addressing, and this is. Oh, shit. I got to deal with this, so just give me half a second. I'll be right back. Yellow. Oh, no, shit. Sorry about that, guys. Welcome to the live video. Oddly enough, and this is, nobody really is worried about this. You're not asking, but that's okay. That phone call was the school phoning me to tell me that my son missed school. Now, here's the stupid part. And I know you guys have gone through this. Okay. I phoned this morning to tell him he was ill. Okay, left a message on their system, and apparently they ignored it. So I get a phone call. This is called modern tech. I get a phone call. I did what they asked, and they still can't get it right. There is an annoyance, but here's the thing. What I was getting at before. Okay. And before anybody goes there, no, he just has a real nasty cold that he didn't want to have to deal with at school and didn't have the ability anyway. Yeah, Philip, it actually is. Okay. Our school, the school day here ends at, well, we're at 5 o'clock. It ends at 3. Okay. But this gives you the speed, the amount there on the ball. Okay. But no, I left a message. I followed the path they said. But what I was getting at here with this bodybuilder, she started off by going, "This is a problem that we're dealing with." Okay. This is a problem we're dealing with. She goes out and starts addressing it. And this is where I'm heading with this. I am so tired of listening to people walking down the road right smack in the middle of traffic, doing the same silly thing over and over again. I came to the understanding a long time ago. There are 3 types of people in the world. About 1% of people make things happen. About 4% of people watch what happens. And it seems, and I'm hoping I'm wrong about this, but it seems like about 95% of people wonder what happened. Okay. But one of the biggest things that we are doing is so many people put the dollar as a primary value. Okay. Now, to be clear, when I looked at pricing for my books, when I looked at the pricing of them, what I did was figured out, number one, how much is it going to cost me to print them? Okay, because I've got to cover that. How much is it going to cost? How much do I have to sell them for in order to actually sell the books and make enough profit to be able to reorder more? Including not only the sale, but the postage to move them out. How am I going to go about doing that? Now, here's the neat little thing. Okay, and this is what I mentioned I was going to be doing this. Okay, I know I mentioned it a number of times. This book right now, or more to the point, up until last week, this book was costing me $25 to send anywhere in the continental US or in Canada. The Yldrbac Chronicles. You take a look at the size of it, because of its size and weight, it was going to cost me $25 Canadian to ship it anywhere in the continental US or anywhere in Canada. Okay. However, I mentioned a while back that when I found a less expensive way to do things, I would drop the prices of shipping and what have you to make it happen. Okay. So that is literally what I am now able to do. Okay. I found a way in Canada that, and it does throw the numbers into a bit of a different spin. Okay. But in Canada, I'm going to be able to ship them for a little less at this point. Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly there, Philip. From in Canada, mind you, because of the fact they've got something called flat rate shipping here, I am now going to be able to cut, and it's a terrible, it's really still an appalling number. Okay. But the one thing I know, sending it through Canada Post, as pricey as it probably is in some people's eyes, okay, the one thing I do know is that at least it gets to where it's going most of the time. Okay, this is just the reality behind it. But I found a way that I can actually, and it does cut a little into the profit line, absolutely. But as effective immediately, anywhere in Canada, I'll be able to ship the same book. I will now be able to ship it for the moment, and once I get it down lower, I will bring the cost of shipping down. I will pass it on. I'm not, I could have left it sit the same way, but in Canada, I'm going to be able to drop that shipping down to $20. Okay. I mean, in all fairness, it's still at 21 and a quarter, I think. But the lack of that little extra doesn't cause a big problem. Oh, you actually believe that, Philip? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought they told you. And Philip is saying, I thought we had a free trade agreement between U.S. and Canada. Why should the shipping be more 1 mile north of the border than 1 mile south? I could not agree with you more. I really couldn't. And if I find a courier that I can utilize on a regular basis to get that kind of coverage, I will swap to them in a heartbeat. For me, it's a simple issue of if you imagine, if you take a look at the whole cost of it, okay, at the whole cost for production, this is something, if you're writing, this is something that you have to take into consideration. Okay, if you're writing, if you're making anything that you're shipping, you've got to be able to cover that cost. Either the person buying it or the person selling it. Now, I will tell you this. For those of you that are hoping I'll get it on Amazon at some point, I will. Okay, and they've got a much better shipping rate. Problem is, because of what was done to me, I've been hogtied as far as Amazon goes for a lot of the stuff I do. Okay, which is why when you go to my website at rkeithandrews.com, you'll find that some of the books have a hot link on them. Some of them don't. All of them are available directly through me. Okay, and if you look at the prices on that site, it will tell you how much is included inside shipping, etc. How much of the shipping is included in that bill. But, I stood back for way too long. I turned the marketing over to another couple of companies. They took my money quite readily and did jack for what they said they were going to do in the way of marketing. Net result, I fired the bunch and pretty much all of them. Okay. Because I came to the conclusion, if I'm going to tell you I'm doing something, or I'm planning on doing something, like this idea that we just covered, of putting a coloring book out with the different races. Okay. With that in mind, okay, that will be coming out pretty much right behind the first one. I just have to make sure money is going in the right direction. Okay. This is just one of those things. Okay. And I'm going to go down. As a matter of fact, now here's an odd question for you guys. Okay, I was just asking about the coloring book. Okay, now I've got two ways of doing this. The printer I've got has two ways of doing a coloring book that I can think of. Okay, because we'll have 59. See, this is with all the information in it, so that's pretty thick. I can get the coloring book done this way, where it gets stapled in the middle. Okay, or I can get the coloring book done in this form, possibly. I got to check on the coil form, but I've seen pretty thick coils. And I'm just curious, in your guys' eyes, which would be better for a coloring book? Okay, putting it with a coil binding or putting it with the staple binding? In your guys' eyes. Okay, just again, I figure if I'm going to put things together, why not ask the people out there that are potentially going to be working with it? Whoop, that's your turns. I said I don't do a lot of research. Well, this is what I call research. Okay, I do know something else about this free trade thing. I do know that Canada right now is in the process of swinging a bypass deal to make a shipping deal to Mexico, and make it an interactive between Mexico and the U.S. or between Mexico and Canada. Okay. Oh, there we go. I will have to ask him when I see him next. But thank you so much for that there, Philip. I appreciate that. From my standpoint, it really boils down to this. Okay. I've got a lot on the go, and I have mentioned that I'm aiming at building a healing center down the road. But I will tell you, the backbone is going to be built on the publishing company, more to the point, on the writing first, which I spend a lot of time on. In case you hadn't noticed that on your own. But where it comes to your life, if you've got something you've been putting off, one thing that I have found works like an absolute charm, okay, is you put a little list together. Make sure the list, and that's what I'm doing here. Okay, you'll notice I've got things written down here, and I know you can't read what they are, and that's okay. Okay, but I've got them written down, and I'm clearing, and as I clear them off, I check them off. Okay, and the reason for that is because, frankly, it really helps keeping on top of things. Like this neat little book here. This is handy. If you're an astrologer, it's handy. Otherwise, it's a lot of numbers. It's really confusing. Still got to get those two. Those are 1900. But the longer you put something off, the less likely you are to get it done on time. Okay, and I've done this way too often myself. But how do you change that? Well, how you change that is simply with a pen and paper. Now, this is why I say, take one goal, write it down, because obviously you have to start with one. Where do you start? Right wherever you are. Okay. And you get 3 on the list maximum. Okay. Get the 3 written down. But make sure they're only 15 minutes to half an hour in duration to get them done. Oh, Philip here has just added. Oh, I just thought of something. There's a lady who set up a really neat Tibetan Buddhist healing center. That bounced. Center and nunnery just north of Spokane in Newport, Washington. They have some neat vids too. And this is why I say I'm not the only one doing this, but we've got to get more and more people doing this. The reality is, if everybody is working together, if we all are concentrating on healing each other, on helping each other heal, and on seeing the similarities, on seeing the things that we have in common, instead of focusing on the ones that make us different. Okay, you want to be different. Here's a challenge for anybody wearing glasses. Okay, you want to be different. Don't take your glasses off and throw them away. You still need them to see. But if you can figure out how to put them on backwards, this might be an idea. But I will tell you that makes you dizzy. So, bad idea. Take my word for it or test it and see how bad yours look. I know that was really a dumb idea. Fortunately, I'm not trying to drive. Okay, but if we concentrate, and don't ask me where that came from, I have no functional idea. Okay, what do we got here? This should say that I saved some money somewhere. Well, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. That's for dang certain. But these are just little things. Oh, I did mention the other day I was getting a video back. I can put it off. Now, you want procrastination. This is close to the ultimate level. back in grade 7 or grade 8, we did an 8mm record video. Okay. I finally got the thing transferred onto zip. Okay, not much to it, no sound, doesn't show you much. But I finally got it racked off. You know, well, that's, oh, okay, thank you so much for that, Adam. That was sort of the way I was looking at it. I just have to find out what kind of a price I'm looking at, but I won't know that until I get all of the pictures in. And I was talking to my artist today, and he did confirm to get, like, I give him the pictures in batches of 5, and he did confirm that that it takes him about 2 weeks from start to finish to get 5 done. Well, with this in mind, okay, I'm looking at about 6 weeks down the road here. We are in the middle of February, so with that in mind, we should have the book in print, because I'm going through the editing now. Come to think of it, I should rack through that with my editor. You know, my editor is picky as all get out, and I'll tell you, it's well worth it. You know, if you're looking for an editor, I'll tell you, this one is picky. You want one that's picky. Okay, because what she does is not only does she look for spelling mistakes, she looks for things as simple as spaces on extra spaces or extra tabs on scene breaks or at the end of a sentence. Now, I tell you, that's not going to show up in the book, but it does go to show that we are dealing with somebody that is as picky as they get. And that is what you look for in an editor. Okay, not somebody that will turn around and say, oh, you can't write it that way. Your story, you write it the way you will. But find an editor that is picky. Okay. Now, do understand, you always have to work inside boundaries. Now, what do we got here? So, I do have essentially confirmation that somewhere near the end of March, sorry, I said February, the end of March, middle of April, not only, by the look of it, not only will I have the second printing of Races of the Worlds out, but looks like I'll have out a coloring book as well, because once I've got all the pictures, I can turn around and turn them into a book. Okay, so I will start working on that as well. Okay, but that one's going to be child's play to pull together. I just go into the books I've got the colors on. Okay, and of course, obviously, from my standpoint, it's obvious. I can do that for volume 1. When volume 2 comes out, I've got another book right behind it. Okay, and this is just the way that procrastination works. You can put it off as long as you want. Doesn't necessarily work out the way you'd like. That's Johnny's. Now, please tell me that was hooked up to Johnny's. Yep, those belong together. This is just, hey, look, my missing marble. Yeah, I keep telling people I'm nuts. I lost my marbles. But, then I go and find them again. All of a sudden, I'm not lying. They aren't gone anymore. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Anybody out there actually lose your marbles as well? Phil's just put in here. Notice slip-ups. Well, moved out of the way. I notice slip-ups in what I'm reading in a few times a week. Some books I think, do they need an editor? Okay. And Philip's just going, I would be willing to hire on to edit if she doesn't mind an imperfect edit. Well, this is the whole issue. Is fortunately my editor and myself are picky. But at least I don't have to fight with this one. This one I go, this is what I'm looking for. And she watches for what I'm looking for. or for something that doesn't fit, that doesn't add up. Like, she's phenomenal, in my opinion. This doesn't mean perfect, but as compared to me, she is absolutely phenomenal where it comes to the punctuation side. Okay, and making things work right. Now that is February 10th. Okay, I'm going to have to sort all these out. And they take too much time. So what I'm going to do, this is not called procrastination. This is called prioritization. I got a whole pile of receipts here. That was procrastination, not doing it before. So I put all these receipts right here. Put my little weight on it, also known as my cell phone. Okay. And then we put down here, we have the receipts. Now, I am going to be looking into a lot of things. The whole thing for me is this. I don't have an actual income anymore. So I gotta get creative. Fortunately, that's not a big hiccup on my part. By the way, in case you didn't get the message, or you haven't been here before, I think most of you have been here before. But for those of you that are listening in the chat room, if you do have a question, even if it is completely off topic, absolutely post it. But do remember, do me a favor and put the questions in all caps. This is not yelling in my chat room. This is waving your hand so that I can see the fact you've got a question. I do keep an eye on what's being written. Like one of the things I have found is I can postpone things for days. I can postpone things for months if I want. It just kind of comes in along the lines of, well, never do what you can put off. I used to live by that, and I'll tell you, it dug me some pretty big craters. Yeah, I have done that. One of the worst sections I did myself while I was writing this. Okay, there's a couple of vehicles in here. And while I'm writing this, I got lost in the writing. And I'm going back through the editing going, but where did the Samaritan is one of the primary vehicles. Okay, an APC, an armored ambulance called the Samaritan. Okay, and I'm writing along while this was in development. And all of a sudden I'm like, where did I put where did the Samaritan go? I had to go back 8 chapters to find that I'd left it parked on the side of the road and everybody bailed on it. So I had to do a major reinsert to bring it up to speed. But like you, Philip, I've read things not necessarily with mittens and gloves, but you read them and oh, look, that person had blonde hair in this book, and now their hair is red. Why? Okay. Now there is one scene where I know why the guy's head turned red and why his hair color turned red. Because he got slapped on the table so hard he split his skull open. All of a sudden his hair was all red. The really sad part was that particular scene. And like I said, where it comes to combat writing, I get a little too graphic on occasion. Okay. So in this one scene in the Return to Paradise, sounds almost like an oxymoron in a way. But this one scene, this guy gets hit so hard on the table, he splits his skull. Okay, to the point of the brains go elsewhere. Right after that occurred, he gets cut in half by the same guy that just dropped him. Little bit of an overkill. Yeah. Well, that was just it. I left the Samaritan parked on the side of the road or parked in a parking lot. I just totally forgot about it. I'm going back through right now with Return to Paradise to make certain that the vehicles I'm supposed to be utilizing all got to where they were supposed to. Yeah, Philip just goes, it was his stunt double's hair. Like when James Bond's hair changes color and he's hanging from a helicopter. Yep. See, I always found it fascinating. And Joe's just adding, the little voice in your head, why you should listen to it when you hear it in your head. My problem is that little voice in my head it's got a little bit of a hiccup, I think. Most of you have a little voice in your head that says, oh, you shouldn't really say that. You bite your tongue in a hurry. My little voice goes, after I say something, my little voice pipes up and goes, you probably shouldn't have said that. I remember somebody telling me one day they were upset because their kid wasn't listening to them. And they made the comment, I said, and they said, you see, whenever he's on the computer, he never listens to me at all. Because they said something and the kid ignored it, didn't say a word, didn't respond. And I looked at the person, I went, nope, you're mistaken. Right? So I asked the kid in question, I said, what did your mother just say? And they repeated it almost verbatim. And this is where my mouth went in and where my foot went into my mouth. I turned and looked at the mother and I went, see, he's not, it's not that he doesn't hear you. It's just that he's ignoring you. Now, apparently this is not the way to handle this because it didn't work out all that well. They got really upset. For me, it was a simple issue of, put it out there and then go, It's kind of along the same lines of telling somebody that watches sports. And I know some of you guys, and some of you guys may do this, some of you may have only witnessed it. Okay. But you see somebody sitting there watching a hockey game, watching a football game, and they're on the edge of their seat, they're screaming at the TV. Here's the question you don't ask. Do not ask that person if it helps. This is not going to result in a good answer. I know because I did it. Okay. Yeah, Philip just goes, Philip goes, my little voice can be a jerk to me. I've been arguing with him, telling him that insulting me isn't helping me. I need to name him. Well, pick a name. Call him what many people call him. Either call him Bob for all it matters. Okay, pick a name you can relate to, that you can remember who he is. And then you can be sitting in the restaurant and, sitting on your own, having a cup of coffee. That voice will go off and you just pipe up and go, Bob, would you just knock it off? Okay. Then you get the fun of watching what the people in the booths around you are thinking. And that can be a lot of fun. By the way, it's a great way to deal with mourning as well. Yeah, talk about the topic going that way. Procrastination itself, you can get sidetracked. You can get sidetracked, and because something is more interesting, you get sidetracked doing it. I got accused of doing that the other day. I kid you not, I got an email from somebody complaining that I don't stay on one topic. And really, for those of you that have known me on Spaced Out Radio, can you imagine me trying to stay on one topic for very long? I've done it a couple of times. When I've gone out to a speaking engagement, I absolutely can stay on topic. But, I can get very sidetracked. Like for those of you that like science fiction, like I said, I write where it comes to combat very graphically. But there are a couple of characters that come up. There's one character, I don't know how he got into the story, but he showed up somewhere in book 11. Okay, a little guy by the name of Sawgrass. Okay, Thunder Sawgrass. He's a wonderful little chap. I don't know how he got into the story. To this day, I haven't figured out exactly how. Right. But he's walking along in a real serious conversation with somebody after a major battle has taken place. And they're walking through the carnage from it. And all of a sudden, this little guy, he's walking along. He all of a sudden sees a butterfly. And he just all of a sudden looks at it and goes, oh, flutterby. And off he goes. drops the conversation altogether. Yeah, I don't know about the practicing, but I do agree with you there, Philip. At a speaking engagement, you usually have a topic you're focused on. My topic for this stream is very simple. How do we get everyone to start working together to make this a better world? Okay, for virtually everybody. Now there will be people that will not agree. Okay, I'm one of the reasons I have to go down to I've got to go down to the mall and down to talk to a specific t-shirt company there is I know I've got a buddy who used to be a demolitions expert. So I'm going to be getting him a t-shirt done where it is stitched, where the words are embroidered, not ironed on. Okay. And with that in mind, that t-shirt, okay, I'm going to turn around and give him for Christmas. But what it's going to say is on the front, I am an explosives expert. And then on the back, if you see me running, try and keep up. What do we got here? Joe's just saying, I heard that little voice in my head one summer afternoon a long time ago. The voice in my head told me, don't do it. I did it anyway with bad results. Been there, done that. Okay. Most of us have. And I like to think that as I get older, I actually stop doing some of the stupid things. Like, I was a young kid when I tried ketchup and ice cream. That too was a bad idea. But when you get an idea in your head, it really does have to, yeah. Yeah, Philip's just going, I think we need goals that we believe we're capable of achieving within a certain period of time. Absolutely you do. And this is why I said, this is actually why this book came about. Okay. Is because, as I put it, you take your goals, you take a dream board, which gives you an overall picture of the big goals. Then you take those goals and you break them down into smaller tasks. Each task taking 15 minutes to half an hour to complete. By doing that, and by taking care of the little tasks, you'll get to the big goal. Okay, this is one of those things that does work. I know it works because not only have I done it and had it work, and net result, I'm on track to what I'm aiming for. Okay, but I have turned this information over to literally thousands of people. Okay, and had all kinds of reports from people coming back to me that it worked like a charm. Okay, the difficult part is that most of us get into a habit of just waiting for something to happen or going, I don't like that job. Anybody recognize this job when you were a kid or today? Okay. Anybody recognize this job? Make your bed, dear. I don't want it, so you leave it alone and walk away. Okay, there is that rule that you look at and go, well, I'm just going to make it to get back into it. I'm telling you, this is a bad idea. Okay, procrastination starts with you. It also ends with you. And that is done by simply picking any goal at all, anything that does not feel like it fits where you'd like it to. Okay, this is why when I look at things, okay, and I see the fact they're no longer done or that I've got to get them done, this is why I keep getting up. Of course, heaven forbid I ever reach over there for my coffee. I've got paint water over there. Bad thing to drink. In all fairness, probably wouldn't be too terribly bad. It's water with Dawn in it. Okay. But I'm thinking drinking soap is just a bad idea. Okay. Yeah, it'll clean your pipes. But no, it won't do it well. Okay. I love the ones that tell you, oh, this is good for you. Like I kid you not, I watched a video. This guy was talking about ways of saving money on gas. Now, you figure this one out. If you drive, it'll make total sense. I don't have a bottle in here right now, but I watched this video. Guy claimed to be a very experienced mechanic. He says, I found a trick that will absolutely save you hundreds of dollars on gas. And what does he do? He takes a bottle of Coca-Cola with brown liquid in it and upends it into his gas tank. Now I'm telling you, will that possibly save you hundreds of dollars in gas? Certainly, because you'll seize the engine and you won't be able to run the thing. You won't be spending any gas money at all. So depending on how much you actually were driving, adding Coke will save you gas money. It'll blow your engine all over the floor, but you won't be paying money on gas. I don't mind people that come up with absolutely what I consider really short-sighted ideas. When it comes to procrastination, I'm good at it. Okay, the reason I've got this sheet still sitting here is because of that little tool that we talked about yesterday. I am going to find myself, I'm going to find the horses that I can do. Okay. Yeah, Phil just goes, waiting hasn't been working for me. Still waiting for that flying saucer to come take me up for weeks of training that only lasts a few minutes. Hasn't happened to me since 2003. Hey, look at the bright side. It happened. Okay, at least you can say, whether anybody believes you or not is not the question. At least you can say in your own heart, I got there. Now, let me ask you this. While you were up there, Philip, did you happen to notice whether or not the earth from up there was flat? I know you were up there training, but did you get a chance to actually look out the window? I know my perspective on it. Why are we here? He goes, that was the most consequential dream I've ever had. I think that's supposed to be, I'd like to experience it again. Yeah, not flat. I get a kick out of it. Thank you for that confirmation. It's that issue. It's that issue. Everybody, there's these people that go, oh, the earth is flat. And I'm going like, let's ignore science. Let's ignore all the theories, the whole 9 yards. I'll go with the fact I was up there. The thing was essentially round. Okay. From my standpoint, you can theorize about anything you'd like. Okay, but there is nothing like experience to show you the reality behind it. Okay. There is nothing like, there's one thing to think about being chased by a bull. You take a look at it. In Spain, they do this all the time. They call it running with the bulls. I call it insane. Of course, I was chased down by a bull. Well, no, I got away. My whole kindergarten class was chased by a bull when we were obviously we were in kindergarten. But I tell you, it's one thing to think about being chased down by one. It's another to experience it. It's like the idea of thinking about being picked up by a saucer and taken up into space. It's an entirely other issue of having gone there. Okay, and I am not the one to tell you whether somebody did that or somebody didn't. What I can tell people is whether the person saying it, especially face to face, whether the person relaying the information believes that's what they were going through. Okay, one of the advantages of being an empath. Yeah, Stuart, Joe's going, I tell you what, the summer day that voice in my head that told me don't do it, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. Curiosity there, Joe. What, pray tell, were you seeing that you couldn't believe? And like I said, I'm just curious as far as that goes. Of course, Philip Scott, I have a neighbor who's done the running of the bulls. He's originally from the Boss County in Pamplona. And I'm all for it. You want to be chased by bulls, be my guest. There are people that jump into barrels to distract the bulls during bull riding in order to keep the guy alive. Okay. It's just one of those skills that I just frankly never found a lot of use for. The reality of it is that we can put off doing whatever we'd like to. If you put it off, it will not get done. Okay. I mean, heck, I kept putting off getting my hair cut. My hair ended up all the way down to here. Now you see where the elbow is. Of course, do it that way. My hair used to come all the way down to about here because I kept putting off cutting my hair. Finally, one day I decided I was going to do it. Went down, got it done. Here we have it. Okay. But rest assured, as I've told my other half, not losing sideburns. Sorry, they're just staying put. But the reality of it is, if you really desire your life to change. Oh, I've got scissors. I play with them all the time. I just don't have any interest in cutting my hair right now. I may eventually again. Okay, who knows? Right now it's been, well, it's neat because it for the longest time it literally stopped growing at my shoulders. Right. It took about 10 years for it to start growing past them. But do I have scissors? Certainly. And I've got knives. And for that matter, I've got mini flamethrowers and a few other neat little things. What I don't have is I don't have explosives. Oh, I saw a video this morning that was just absolutely bizarre. Okay, this woman, she's in front of her oven, and when her husband comes by, looks at her and be aware. I have seen men and women with the same level of short-sightedness, but she's got 4 cans of pop on the shelf in the oven, and she's just about to push it into the oven. Okay, these are sealed cans of pop, and her husband goes, "What are you doing there?" She goes, "Well, I heard that soda cleans the oven really well." Well, I hear that neat works really well. Myself, I've got a razor, I just don't bother. And that's what I told my other half. Right now, I could probably, this could be shaved, certainly. I will not use a straight razor, ever. If you think about it, here's why. Straight razors are great, they give a really nice shave. Except, in my case, I once took an electric razor, and my hand spasmed so bad, I slit my throat from here all the way to here. Thankfully, I missed the jugular. I did, however, destroy the shirt I was wearing. Now, if I can do that with an electric razor, can you picture the mess I can make of myself if my hand spasms while I'm using a straight razor? And yet I play with knives all the time. But I haven't lost any fingers, they're all there. But the whole catch to changing your life is to stop procrastinating. When you see something you're not content with, it's time to literally shift gears on it. Of course, I'm sitting here talking about shifting gears and something just dawned on me. So let's just see if I've got that color here. See? Want coffee, so pick up drink. It's not bad. I've only gone through 2 pots today. Somewhere in here, I have the color that I'm looking for. Silver. Of course, the neat thing is, I don't have any metal colored paint, so silver works for me. Now I don't, whoa, well, that was a little much. I don't have a lot of them to work with here, but that's okay. This is that character I was talking about earlier. And again, in the one where I said that my son was looking at building a dwarf for Dungeons and Dragons. This is the guy he's looking at using. So I figured I'm sitting here and I had a half minute into my mind. So why not paint the axe and be done with it? And like I said, I don't have metal, so I use silver. Because, well, frankly, I'm not going to go and try and find metal. I know metal color exists, but this works well enough. So we just put that on there. And yes, I did see something come in, so I should take a look at that. What do we got here? Phil's just asking, was she a spirit? Spirit. Whoa. Move that out of there. Phil's just asking, was she a spirit he had trapped there? Oh, that's the Joe. Go back up here. Yeah, we never did get an answer out of you there, Joe. Mind you, you're not the one you're just in the chat room. I've run into spirits that have been trapped. I actually had one that showed up. It was great. Showed up, threatened to kill a friend of mine. And they called me, said they were really worried about this guy. So I'm like, okay, well, let's have a word with him. So the long and the short of it was real simple. I turned around and sent him merrily along his way. Sent him to get a hold of the guy that actually created the problem. Right? What somebody had done is forcibly dragged a spirit out of the netherworld into the modern one. And the poor spirit couldn't get back. So I said, okay, there's no problem. How about if you quit harassing, quit threatening my friend, and you go deal with the guy actually responsible? So I sent him on his merry way to the guy that did it. Well, the guy that did it was in prison. Okay, he was actually in prison for trying to kill the girl that was being harassed. But as soon as I pointed the spirit in the right direction, the spirit took off, left the woman alone, and I don't know what happened to the guy in the prison. Actually, the guy was an amateur. Okay, but I mean, I've run into necromancers before, and some of them are really neat people. Like, they're a little twisted, but they're really neat. But necromancy, do understand, same issue. That's part of karmic law. Karmic law says, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Meaning, when somebody passes away, leave them to rest. Okay? Because the reality is, once they pass away, I'm guessing once you passed away, being thrown out of bed again is not going to be high on your list of enjoyable things. Okay? But this is one of the reasons you don't do that. Besides that, people get grumpy. When the dead get forcibly raised, they tend to get a whole lot more psychotic than anything else. They just don't handle it well. And they don't see it as a funny. But, what I'm doing here, my son gave me some very specific instructions on what he would like me to do with this character, as far as painting pattern goes. So I figured while I was here, I might just as well get this out of the way. I cleared off the desk I was looking at. But you are the one that's got to get off your tail feathers and actually change things in your own life. If you're not happy with the way your life is going, you're the one that's going to have to do something about it. Okay. Now, I can tell you these tools work. I can tell you making a list and checking it off works very much like it does for Santa Claus. And that's a whole other ballgame and a whole long tail there. And maybe next December we'll deal with that. But quite frankly, I tend to avoid that particular topic unless it's December. Okay. You look at that. We have him finished. Or more to the point, we have his men. No, we don't. But I gotta leave that dry for a second. Now, let's see what we got going on here. Yeah, spirits can be really disconcerting. I thought it was neat. I ran into a problem one day when I was still married. You know, we were laying there in bed, and my wife woke up, and above us, lying on the bed, above us, she was close to the roof, was this shrouded figure. Well, I'll tell you, it scared the daylights out of my other half. Right. I just looked up and went, wrong bed, care to try a different one? And the thing took off. What do we got here? Yeah, it's always fun when you had when we're looking at spirits. Okay, let us understand something. There is functionally no difference anymore, and there's functionally no more of a difference between a spirit and a pedestrian than there is between a pedestrian and a driver. Okay, when you're driving, you can go certain places. Okay, my brother did find out years ago you cannot park an Impala which is a full size vehicle. You cannot park an Impala in the same width of parking stall that you can park a 1000cc motorcycle. No matter how fast you drive, it's not going to go in there. Okay, now when you've got spirits to deal with, a driver of a vehicle can go certain places. You want to go other places, get out of the vehicle and walk. You're now a pedestrian. If you want to go other places, get your spirit out of your body, as in astral travel, and you can go more places that the physical body won't go. Okay. And again, it really boils down to this: whether you believe you can do something or you believe you cannot. One way or another, the odds are you're going to manage to prove yourself right. Okay. I remember telling somebody one day, well, it was actually a girlfriend of mine. She had mentioned that she wanted to be in front of she had a beautiful voice. And she wanted to sing in front of a crowd. Right. And I looked at her and I said, well, why don't we put you in front of 50,000? And now bear in mind, I do not work in the entertainment industry. And she goes, you can't do that. I says, how about if we don't discuss what I can't do? Now, in essence, she was correct. I did not get her in front of 50,000 people. I got her in front of 34,000. Okay. And this is why when I'm doing these writings, okay, right now things are really slow. Things are really tight as far as that goes. But I have no doubt that sooner or later, I will make it as a functional author. If you've got a book, and I mean one that you're striving to write, do not give up on it. Okay, do not give up on your goals. Because I will tell you, putting them off just because somebody else said you're not good enough, they don't have to believe you're good enough. You have to believe it. Okay, and when you've got a goal, you break it down into smaller pieces. Okay, one step at a time. Just like when I'm looking at these figures. Okay, one piece at a time I paint them. Okay, it's the same all the way around. But how do you break procrastination? How do you get past that? Well, it's actually relatively simple. Okay, the way to break the habit of procrastination is literally to break it down into smaller parts. Angels in Life, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Oh, and I don't think I've done this today because I was a little sidetracked with this funny thing called sleep. Once in a while, that sort of becomes a priority. Where are we? That. Okay, so we scroll down. There it is. Angels. I didn't get these at the front, but here we are. This is Angels. Whoa. Let's try that again. Angels, where did you go? This is Angel's Life. Okay. Restore Belief with Nikki. This is her website. Check it out. Listen to what she has to say. If you like what she's saying, give her a thumbs up. As a matter of fact, if you like what we're talking about here, do me a favor and hit thumbs up if you haven't done so already. Okay. And absolutely, again, if you like what her videos are doing, do subscribe to the channel. Okay. Now, the other ones that have already come through here, we have, I don't think he's come in, but we're just going to get them all in here anyway. What do we got? This is Shadow and Sun Sight. Okay, and I've got to get in touch with him. He's looking at bringing me on to his show. I don't know when yet. Okay, but he has some really neat topics that he deals with, especially in the way of figure making. Painting and creation, that sort of thing. You're more than welcome there, Angels of Life. And this is not quite where it all began, but it's certainly been the longest running. This is Spaced Out Radio. Now, it'll be another couple of weeks here before I'm back on there. And then here we have, this is Chad's this is not Chad's, this is Nathan's with the Quantum Show. And what do we got here? There he is. Now, oh, that's just terrible there, Philip. Philip is telling a joke here. He goes, what did one demon say to the other? Demon 1 says, who are you wearing? Demon 2. Oh, this old thing I'm wearing? Linda Blair. We had a movie together. Let me know if you'd like to borrow her. It's funny because that particular movie I actually watched. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then I ended up in exploratory surgery. I was 12 when that movie came out. And then I pulled that stunt that she pulled out. If you remember the movie at all, the one starring Linda Blair. Okay. And that would have been in 1975. I know because I was 12 when it happened. Okay. But she was laying down and she just sits up this way, just bending at the waist. I did the same thing in a hospital after exploratory surgery. I'll tell you, it startles the daylights out of people. Now that's the Quantum Show. We got to Shadow right there. So this is Chad's site. Okay. Whoop, that did not work that well. And this is the Chad Smith Show. And then we have, and I haven't seen him today. He's probably really tied up, probably out in the middle of nowhere. And then this is World Bigfoot again. These sites I'm putting up here, these are good sites to drop in on. If you like what they're saying, give them a thumbs up. If you really like the channel, absolutely subscribe to them. Okay. Yeah, I have a really bad habit. I did that in when Linda Blair, when the Exorcist originally came out, I pulled that maneuver, and when I sat up, I was not supposed to be awake, apparently. The door to the recovery room was still swinging. So I sat up the same way. I was laying on bed, and I just sat up this way, looked directly at the nurse, and went, when's lunch? And it was a lot deeper than that. Right. Well, she turned chalk white, and the long and the short of it was she went and got me lunch. But years later, in, when I was 5 years, years before, okay, I was 5 years old. Well, that was just it. I was literally just out of recovery. I wasn't even supposed to be awake. Never mind asking about lunch. But when the nurse brought it back, she put this sandwich on the end of one of those tables with that are on wheels, and she shoves it across the room. She wouldn't even come into the room. But at 5 years old, I pulled another horror story. Okay, and on August 1st of 1968, I was only 5. And I woke up. Again, the recovery door wasn't doing anything. I woke up in a morgue. Okay, the problem with waking up in a morgue is morticians are trained to handle the bodies that quirk, that twitch, that hiccup, that burp. Once in a while, they'll handle, and they have to deal with ones that sit up. Okay, they are not trained to handle the dead people that get up and walk out. Especially not when you realize that the end of 1966, beginning of 67, was when the original Dawn of the Dead came out. This poor chap didn't have a prayer. He just passed out on the floor. Well, fortunately in my case, I didn't. I keep getting thrown back to me. Now, mind you, in all fairness, much as I did make the comment, that I wanted off this world, the number of times I've been taken or given a ride out of here, okay, has been remarkable. What I should have said is don't bring me back. Oh, no. No. When I walked out of the morgue, I didn't have a near-death experience. I had a dead experience. Okay, I went way past the near-death. Okay, in all fairness, Christine, by the time I was 10, I had been clinically dead 4 times, as in the doctors had to restart my heart. Once in the incubator, once at 5 years old, once at 20 months old, once at 5 years old, once at somewhere between 8 and 9. So I guess we'll call it 8 years old. Okay. Oh, absolutely. Those are, I remember the whole 9 yards, and I'll tell you what people are worried about happening when you're dead. You're worrying about a lot of things for not a lot of reason. I can tell you wholeheartedly, first and foremost, heaven exists, hell exists. That neat little place where you just lay down in a coffin and wait until you rot, that exists. Okay, that neat little plot of ground that you get buried in and wait until the worms eat you, that all exists. What they don't tell you is that you're not stuck in any of them. You got to figure that out for yourself. It's wonderful. You get over there, you do meet the family that are left, family and friends, whether they're people, animals, plants, off-worlders, energies, it doesn't matter. They all go to the same place. What do we got here? What do I have? Oh yeah, for those of you that didn't catch it, we have 2 more here. We got this one. What is this one? This is actually my website where the books are all listed. And then, of course, we have Bigfoot Michigan Rob here. Again, another site that you really should go and check out. And since I can't quite read that, there you go. Now, let's minimize this. And what do we got? The neat part there is technically it can be done. There's a catch to it though there, Philip. if you separate your soul into two or more bodies, you can do it. But the problem is, if you do that, you are setting your soul's evolution back a long way, because now you've got to find that person again. Okay, and that could take you lifetimes. Okay, and we just heard from Nathan here. Nathan says hi to everybody. He's listening at work. It's just he's only just now able to chat. The nice part, like I said, you can split your souls. And when Return to Paradise covers a little bit, but in the next book coming out, which is where it all began, I literally, in the Yldrbacian Chronicles, I literally cover the issue of soulmates and how that all comes about and why it all comes about. Hey, lovey love, long time no see, or long, at least from my end. Glad you could join us. Hopefully your day has been going well. Yeah, I will have to, and what I'm going to have to do there, I think, Nathan, is pick a day where we can actually discuss the whole topic of separating souls. You can do it. It is not recommended because you got to remember, the whole purpose of this journey is to reconnect with all of those parts. Taking part of you and throwing it over there isn't going to help on that journey much. Okay. There's a lot. I've got way too much sitting up here. And when you think about it, I'm in the middle of writing. Well, now it turns out I got an extra one to add. I think, and I'll have to do a count again, but I'm pretty certain I've got 33 books in queue that I'm in the middle of striving to write. Well, when you divide your soul, in a nutshell, what happens, because the purpose of this whole journey is to find the little bits and pieces of you, all of your memories, and bring them back together. It does seem a little counterproductive to me, although it can be done, to pull the book apart and throw it all around the room. Okay, it just makes it really difficult to actually read or to actually put back together. Now, this would explain things. In case you hadn't noticed, my throat's starting to seize. But guys, I really gotta say, just on a parting note here, if you haven't done so already and you like the video, do give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it if you would be kind enough to do so. Just gonna check one little detail. Okay, no, I'm gonna bypass that. But I will be back on Friday. Today's Wednesday, so I won't be here tomorrow. Okay, but I will be back on Friday. Okay, and at 4:30 Pacific time. Until then, thank you so much for that, Christine. I will pass that on to him. Colds and the flu are no fun for anybody, and in this city, we can't even get Neocitrin. Thankfully, I know how to make it. Now, with this in mind, sadly, I'm going to have to bring this to a close. So, until I see you again on Friday, take care of yourselves, and absolutely, until then, do take care of yourselves and each other, and please do your best to stay positive. Okay, Nightmare, glad you could get us. Oops. Glad you could join us. I will see you guys again on Friday. Thank you so much. Yeah, my gaming is going to continue happening on Thursdays as far as I can tell. That's just the way that goes. Have a good night, guys, and do stay positive.